Let's look at the turbulence ripping through the global economy. We are seeing severe supply chain breakdowns, massive inflation spikes, and widespread public panic. The anxiety feels entirely modern, but the underlying mechanisms are deeply familiar. During the Great Depression, a man stood in the street selling his car for $100 after losing everything in the stock market crash. These are not isolated, unlucky economic cycles. When you map the current macroeconomic data, the specific pressure points breaking down right now hit the exact mathematical thresholds that preceded past global catastrophes. We can run a system stress test by mapping known historical stressors, like massive debt overhangs, protectionist trade tariffs, and geopolitical conflicts, directly onto today's global economy. We can measure how much pressure the modern framework can take. Analyzing this historical mirror is the only reliable method we have to figure out if we are currently navigating a manageable recession or sliding into a total system-wide collapse. Following World War I, the human architects of the Versailles Treaty imposed crushing financial reparations on the defeated nations. As economist John Maynard Keynes warned, prioritizing punitive borders over economic rehabilitation laid the direct groundwork for international financial ruin. That instability was weaponized in the 1930s by the Smoot-Hawley Act. Congress slapped punitive tariffs on trading partners, choking off global commerce and deepening the Great Depression. Today, we observe a near-identical resurgence in protectionism, with sweeping U.S. tariffs hitting global supply chains. This chart compares two distinct debt cycles, the period from 1929 to 1937 and 2007 to 2017. In both eras, national debt limits hit their mathematical maximums. Economies peaked, and central banks slashed interest rates to zero to trigger identical deleveraging crashes. The human cost of these crashes passes down through generations. During the Depression, millions fell into sudden poverty. Today, that economic strain takes the form of a severe wealth gap. OECD data shows that youth incomes are currently 13% lower than what their parents earned at the exact same age. When you combine protectionist trade barriers that restrict global growth with a younger generation getting locked out of the economy, you create highly fertile soil for mass appeal political extremism. As domestic economies fractured in the 1930s, countries pulled their funding from global commitments. The League of Nations collapsed under severe budget shortfalls, creating a massive international power vacuum that allowed violent appeasement to flourish. Right now, global security and aid institutions are facing similar financial starvation. The United Nations humanitarian system is currently operating on just 13% of its required budget, forcing drastic, immediate cuts to international aid programs. This kind of institutional paralysis directly emboldens regional powers. We see modern states using aggressive military tactics and supposedly historical claims to annex territory, perfectly echoing the justifications used to seize Crimea. When global organizations lose their financial backing and their credibility, the mathematical cost of invasion drops. As a result, aggressive nations are logically incentivized to test the boundaries of war. Even a highly weakened system can limp along for years until it hits a catalyst. In the 1970s, sudden oil supply shocks crippled global growth, while simultaneously driving up rampant inflation, trapping central banks in an inescapable stagflation loop. A highly volatile modern equivalent is a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Because 20% of global liquefied natural gas passes through this choke point, conflict could instantly send crude oil prices surging to $120 a barrel. An energy blockade triggers a massive chain reaction. High oil prices force central banks back into that stagflation trap, while simultaneously disrupting the nitrogen-heavy fertilizer markets that currently keep millions of people from acute hunger. An energy shock like this acts as the final match dropped directly into a powder keg of our pre-existing economic and institutional vulnerabilities. Despite all these identical pressure points, the modern world is equipped with several structural circuit breakers that alter the math of a total collapse. The first major barrier is nuclear deterrence. The absolute threat of mutually assured destruction establishes a hard ceiling that prevents direct, full-scale land warfare between great powers. The second barrier is the structure of modern trade. Unlike the isolated, self-sufficient economies of the 1930s, today's deeply integrated global value chains mean countries rely on each other for basic inputs. The economic cost of severing these ties is exponentially higher. Finally, investors have access to modern factor strategies to insulate themselves. Historical data reveals that specific portfolio structures, particularly low volatility equities, provide a layer of financial resilience during high tariff environments that our ancestors simply did not have. These distinct structural differences are the primary physical and financial barriers keeping our rhyming history from becoming a catastrophic reprise. But assuming our modern interconnectedness makes us entirely immune to collapse is the exact hubris that doomed previous generations. An overloaded system will eventually break, no matter how much advanced engineering holds it together. With a century of data mapping exactly how these crises converge, we have a choice. Are we actually using these tools to learn from history, or are we just engineering much more